Hello and welcome to day 6 of the week of game plans. Today we're going to be going over Palm, and she is quite an interesting character. I feel like I simultaneously have one of the best ideas of what to do to be able to deal with her, and also the worst, just because of the way that it works. And so we'll get into that in a minute. Also, this is going to be a little more execution heavy than normal, because Palm's got some cool stuff, and I want to show it. And I'm not really a Palm player, so we're going to see if the stuff in my brain can wind up being stuff that I actually can do on the screen. So let's start with that. We're going to start with our neutral, as always. So Palm has got some stubby normals. Holy smokes. Her jabs are like, ugh. Like, her jab can be behind the trigger for her dog to move backwards. Oh, it's so sad. Alright. And then she's got a lot of situational stuff. So obviously a lot of these are stubby. Some of them have decent range. Like this one's alright. These ones are alright. And the dog normals themselves are quite good. Obviously, you know, it's close to Oleander's range even, which is pretty cool. But they're a lot more situational than hers are. Obviously we're talking Sans dog right now. But the problem that Palm has got is that a lot of the moves are slow on startup, or don't combo from max range, or are stubby, or have massive recovery. And so she has to pick her spots very well when she's throwing out buttons, for a variety of reasons. Let's start with this one. If she hits... so her launcher is actually huge, but she can't combo off of it from certain positions, right? Like, she just doesn't have anything. Even if you go for the fastest JC you can, because they slowed it down, that doesn't actually combo. You see it blue beats. So, even though she can hit her launcher from a huge range, she can't really get anything off of it. And obviously her JB just whiffs, her JA just whiffs. The stubby normals are hurting her, the slow normals are hurting her. Got problems. And in addition to that, perhaps the biggest thing that makes her normals situational is if she doesn't have a dog out, let me show you the longest block string Palm can do that isn't punishable by jab when it finishes. Alright, there it is. So, without a dog, obviously she can still frame trap you and hit you, but if your opponent is patient and just blocks out the frame traps and waits until your combo is over, they get a hit. Or wait until your block string is over, they're just going to get a hit if you go any further than that without a dog, or without meter. It's just free. So, yeah. She's got some issues at round start, and it's going to be important to abuse those as much as possible before she becomes a monster. She has really good air mobility. So Palm has got not only an air dash, but also the only float in the game. And in addition to having two different air options, she can actually use both of them in a single jump. So she can float and air dash. Or she can air dash and then float. So she has a lot of options, and of course both of those options can cancel out her air normals. So she can do air normal into float, into air normal into air dash, into air normal, or she can do, you know, air normal into air dash, into air normal into float. She can do all of those things because they all cancel each other. So she's got a lot of good cancel options. She's got some cool air options. She's got a little bit more air mobility than Oleander does, is what I would say. So she doesn't have Tianhua levels of air mobility, but she's got the ability to do all kinds of crazy stuff in the air, and just, like, it's nuts. It's cool. I love it. She feels like Peach. It's really good. And so her air mobility is quite good, and her air normals are also alright. This JB has got a hitbox that actually goes below Palm's hurt box, so unlike Paprika, she's actually got some threat below her. This move is a fast and decent anti-air. I don't think it's anything to write home about, but it's usable, which is really all we can ask for. And this move has got enormous range. Look at that. So obviously, she's got troubles converting off of it from certain ranges without dogs. But once she has dogs, it's just terrifying. It's just a move that hits from like half screen away and is super good. Like look at how ridiculous this is. It's so huge. Like you threaten it from like here. So, she's got good air mobility, decent air normals. She's got really strong anti-airs. So she's got, her 6A is quite good. You can see that it's going to hit behind her. It can catch cross-ups. It hits pretty well in front of her. It, like, is very close to a Velvet level anti-air, where you're just going to get anti-aired in positions where you weren't even thinking that that was a threat. Furthermore, she has not only one of the best non-6A anti-airs in the game, but just one of the best move normals in the game. Palm's 2B, the hitbox is nice, but look at the hurt box. Look at what happens when she starts this move. She just shrinks, she just pancakes. It's a little pancake normal. And so, that's super good. In addition, of course, to being a great anti-air that can catch cross-ups because it can't get crossed up, it also can just beat random stuff in neutral. Like, if Oleander dashes forward 5-8, this goes under it. So at round start, boop. You go for your dash forward 5-8, Bomb goes for a little 2B there, bam, you get hit. That goes right under it. So, she's got some spooky stuff. Even though she doesn't convert off of it, and a lot of it's situational, the situations when she gets into them are quite good for her. She does have some issues, like her backdash is pretty standard. I think the forward dash is pretty standard. It doesn't have a very fast startup, right? You can always check this by trying to wave dash with it and see whether or not it feels good, and that doesn't feel very good, right? You can just tell by doing it once. She doesn't have a lot of bursty dash forward movement. So the dash forward into button is, like, it doesn't give her the kind of range that you might hope it does, right? So from, like, here-ish, she doesn't really threaten an unreactable button with a dash forward. So she doesn't get a lot of extra range off of her normals. And, of course, if she's doing backdash into normal, she can do some that are quite good, right? Like, dash back into C is good, but then, like, what do you do afterwards? C launcher into drop your combo? Like, you know? So, even though she can hit you with backdash into button, it's often not a true threat, because unless she has a dog out, of course, all of this is unless she has a dog out. But it doesn't really threaten you the way that other characters do, because she doesn't get a confirm off of it. She gets, like, 1 or 2 hits, and she's got to just back off. So, that's not great. But once she's got one of these suckers out, she is the scariest character in the game, in my opinion. She goes from arguably the worst character in the game to arguably the best character in the game, because now you've got to worry about this dog doing stuff while she does stuff, right? She can jump in the air and low you, right? Just jump into the air. That was a low. Palm was in the air. You have to deal with this dog doing stuff to you while Palm is doing other stuff. So you've got basically an assist to deal with constantly for 2 hits until she uses it, because it's just going to stay there. And she can even, like, move it around. And if she's crouching, she can move it around without moving herself, although she can move it around while she's moving forward or backwards, so she can kind of, you know, use that to decide whether or not she wants to move, and then choose which way she wants to move while still controlling the dog. It's pretty cool. But yeah, once she got this out, you have to deal with basically the threat of constant assist. And Palm can do whatever the heck she wants to in the meantime. And some of the assists are highs, and some of them are lows, and some of them tumble you back in the other direction. And, like, she can... I think one of the things she can do is... if she calls out Copter Dog here and moves him over... she can make Copter Dog tumble you towards her, and I believe that's new. It used to be a ground bounce, from my understanding, since I didn't really play much of 1.0. So she can get conversions here that she didn't used to be able to get, because it tumbles the character towards Palm. So now she's got these, like, potentials for full screen conversions, and so basically the short of it is Palm is a snowball character. She starts off really bad, and if she can get some dogs and position them in spots that are good for her, she becomes unbelievably powerful. So that's kind of how the neutral works. The pressure, again, without dogs, she has no answers to push block, right? Even if she can still push a button at the edge of her range after a push block and hit you, she doesn't have any confirms that will hit off of it. So she's pretty much forced to either get a really small punish, even if she calls you out for the push block, or just like try to come up with some way to safely get a dog in or whatever. She's got a lot of options where you are favored, even though you're the one taking the pressure. And of course, if she goes past this in her block string and she doesn't have a dog out, she's going to be jab punishable at some point in time during the pressure, guaranteed. So, yeah, without a dog, she is in a lot of trouble, even if she's the one pressuring you. She doesn't have answers to push blocks. You can just get her away from you. You can try taking the pressure and seeing if you just get a free punish. It's not a good look. But these dogs are like a miniature Fred that don't cost meter, so she can just throw them out whenever, and once they're there, you have to deal with like off-screen lows and crazy stuff. So that's where she becomes unbelievably powerful, where she can suddenly like force you to play memory games. Is there a dog behind me? Which dog was it? Is it going to be close enough to hit me, right? Is the chopper dog still trying to track me, or is it actually close enough that it's going to hit me if she pushes the button? When is that going to change? Even though she's jumping, should I be blocking low right now? Do I have to deal with some kind of crazy like cross up? Is she going to right left me right now? Is she going to dash over right left me? Because this button is a sin. This JB on pressure is sinful. We'll talk about that here more in a second. But that's just absolutely nuts. She has hard to blockables because she can do a dog low into a jumping attack, or a chopper high into a low super quickly. And yes, there is unblockable protection in this game. I don't know how much it is, probably like 3 frames. And that's good because it makes it so that you can't just get unblockable, but it can still put you into the hard to blockables, right? You're going to have to block high into low or low into high, and you're going to have to do it at a very specific timing that you may not necessarily be able to easily tell when that is. It's going to be super fast. You're just going to have to guess which one it is, and you're going to have to execute correctly, right? So Palm can force the opponent to have defensive execution, and that's really scary. In addition to that, this move is unfair. It's so good. So, with the power of Palm's air mobility and this button having a bunch of hits, obviously only the first hit is an overhead, but she can cancel it whenever she wants to. So she can do like, this is the part where we get to do some execution that I may not be great at. She can do like, JB into float, JB into air dash, JB, right? So she can do like, we're a little slow. There we go. Triple overhead. Easy. She can do air dash and go to the other side of you overhead. She can do, only a couple of them. So she can do like one into a low, or one into another one into a low, or she's even got a pretty cool thing. So this is like a Skullgirls trick that I learned. Philia has a similar move that hits a bunch of times in the air, and then she also has a similar move that's pretty slow on startup, so it can kind of just whiff. So what Palm can do is, instead of doing a button and then staying stuck in the air, because she does a button and then floats and then does a button, or does a button and then air dashes and then does a button. Oh, that was a cross up, by the way. Don't worry about it. She can also go right back down to the ground, which is kind of a Philia mix-up. So if she presses JB and then JC cancel, since it takes so long to start up, the JC will whiff and it'll put her right to the ground. So it's not like you can try to fuzzy this, right? Because she can go, and she's just on the ground instantly because she cancels her floaty JB into her instantly dropping JC right into a low. Super scary. In addition, she can do the same thing. That is unmashable. If you try to mash there and it's done correctly by the Palm player, you just get counter hit throwed because she gets to the ground so fast with the JC that whiffs you that she can get a throw. So she can do that. She can do... it just never ends. I don't know. This move was created by some kind of sadist. She can do dash into like float A, so she can just be like dash, float A, push a button. Let's see. Let's see if I can get that one. Yeah, there we go. So that one stays on that side. She can do the other way instead. That's going to go onto the other side. She can go into a low after that and get combos. I mean, she can just do double overhead there. It's just like... As a Smash Brothers player, this excites me because it's got that, like, you can't be thinking like you sometimes can against Oleander and Fred. It's like, all right, he did one mix-up, now I'm going to wait for the next mix-up. All right, now this time I'm going to reversal. And you can kind of choose, you know, it's slow enough that you get to decide. And it's still in Oleander's favor by a lot because you have to make the guess, you have to make the block. Fred can make it so that she doesn't have to play into reversals even if she's still pressuring you. It's just crazy good. But Palm's got that like space animal pressure, that Marvel pressure. You have to have the options that you want to use like in the solid state drive of your brain, because otherwise you're going to be trying to DP. You're going to be like, all right, the next one no, it's too late. The next one was 3 hits ago. You're already getting comboed. You're trying to DP a combo. Palm can do that to you. And that's the kind of like Smash Brothers stuff that I love. And it excites me. I don't play this character, but she certainly is really cool. And she might start off weak, but she can become unbelievable. And all the pressure that we just did there, by the way, is sans dog. When we put a dog into the mix, now you get even more things you have to guess, right? She can still do the JB into float JB, but now she can throw a dog in the middle. And is it going to be JB into dog into float JB, or JB into float JB into dog, right? She can choose, right? She can do JB, float JB, and then choose to do dog, right? And so that was high, high, low. But she could also do like JB, dog, JB, and that was high, low, high. And I'm super thrilled that I'm getting most of this execution, even though it's not super hard. I haven't practiced it at all. So it's just like, oh! And once she's got the dog, she can do that to you. And once she's got the dog, remember when we did that JB into float over? Well, and then we could do a cross up high. Well, now we can do that JB into float over into cross up low. Oh my god, it never ends. So it's just like once she's got the dog out and she can hit you with this JB move. I accidentally went all the way out of it instead of just that. But she hits you with this, like it's grinder time. You're in the grinder and you just have to guess, right? It's like a Smash Brothers mix-up or a Marvel mix-up. You have to guess 3 times in a row and pray. That's pretty much all you can do. So it's pretty great. So that part of Palm makes me super happy. If she doesn't have a dog out, the pressure isn't great. But if she does, she can just dunk you. And like some of that stuff acts as like fuzzy guard setups for certain things, right? If you're hitting the JC, you can do stuff off of that allows Palm to go for some fuzzies, I believe, because of the amount of hit stun that she gets. So she can just like come down on you. Just ignore all this JB stuff. She's just going to come down on you, immediately go into some kind of fuzzy mix-up. And the beautiful thing is, of course, that even if Palm knows when you're going to push block, right? You just die, right? Oh, you went for a throw and it whiffed because you were trying to push block. You got hit. Oh, you went for a jab. And it went the wrong way because I crossed you up. I just got hit. So Palm's got these crazy things she can do, and it's just absolutely nuts. And this JB is like the happiest thing I've ever found out about in my life. If I played this character, would just brutalize people with it. that would be... I would spend too much time practicing things that I could do with that move. I'm not going to lie. It's great. And then, of course, once she's got a dog out, her pressure becomes much better, also because her damage goes up quite a bit. You know, when she doesn't have a dog out, her strings are pretty limited, and her ability to extend combos is very minimized. But once she's got a dog out, she can do something that would normally end her string, and then hit you with a dog, and then pick it up and keep going with her great moves. So that's super good. And I think that it allows for some crazy damage and plays that normally she doesn't get, and suddenly with a dog, her mix-ups and her pressure are much scarier, because now you know you're going to get hit. That long conversion that wasn't going to hit you before, well, now it's long conversion into dog until she can move up close enough to kill you. So that's really good. Let's talk about her defense now. So again, without a dog out, her options are limited. So even if we do something, let's record that real quick. So even without that, so it's kind of her turn when she pushes that button, but you can hit this. Let's see if we can make her do that. So obviously that's going to hit you, but you can see that we were able to hit a lot of dogs there. Let me see if we can hit them all. No, that's pretty tough to do. But we can actually catch her there, right? She isn't actually invincible through that. And while some of those moves look like they're not fast enough to hit her, we do have the ability to hit her there. And even beat it out straight up with super. So if she just goes for it, if we're fast enough, we just beat that out. So let's try it. Let's move her back a little bit, and let's just do the super. Alright, so now she should just do it pretty instantly. And sometimes one dog will get through, but you can see that we can punish that pretty consistently with Shadow Burst. So if she tries to throw that as a reversal, Oleander can throw out her super to just beat it. It's just like she doesn't have real reversals. She doesn't have good buttons to press in a lot of situations, because her fast buttons don't work here. So her fast buttons are often not going to hit. Now she does have one thing that's crazy, right? The pancake button. This beats a lot of things that Oleander can do. It goes under Oleander's 5A, for example. So not only is it good in neutral, but it's also good for checking frame traps. Because if we try to frame trap with 5A 5A, which is a string Oleander's got, Palm can test that. She can say, yeah, it's a frame trap, but it's not a frame trap that works on me. And then she just gets a B starter because you frame trapped her. So even if you time it correctly, Palm's got buttons that just kind of beat stuff out. And once the Palm knows what those buttons are and knows the strings, she really benefits from having the knowledge of other characters' block strings and which moves can and cannot be beaten by just 2B'ing them. So she actually does have one of the best mash-outs in the game, even without a dog, which is nice. But outside of that, no real invincible reversals, no ability to just throw that out. Even though the dogs do come out even after she gets hit, as we saw, Oleander can play meter for meter and just win and beat out all the dogs. And so it's just she doesn't have good stuff that she can do. But that all changes with Bitey. So each of these dogs has a name. I believe that they are, let's do some of them here. I believe that they are Digger, Chopper, Bitey, and then there's collie kind of Saint Bernard looking one is Mama Dog. And so those are all the dogs she's got. And once she's got, say, Bitey out, once this character is out, she can move him. And so there can be positions where you're trying to hit Palm, but she's got a dog behind you. Let's see if we can record that, actually. Let's do that real quick. So let's do a quick... Alright, call Bitey. Move... Okay, that moves Bitey good enough. And we can move him back. And then we can move Bitey and hit him. So let's do that again, except we'll control Bitey a little bit better. So, call Bitey. Move Bitey. Okay, I'm just doing the first part so that I've got a timer for myself. It's like jumping before pressing a button. Alright, so... you might already know this, but if Palm is blocking and she's able to get a dog in, the dog will continue unless she gets hit. So if she's blocking and she continues blocking and there's a gap in your string anywhere, she calls a dog attack during that time, the dog will hit you. So let's see if we can do that real quick. Let's let Palm do her thing. Just going to call the dog. It's already behind us. He glows. So we were able to go against Palm there, and I think we might have even hit her there. And despite that, the dog's already going. The dog has begun. There's nothing that can be done to stop the dog, and it's going to hit you. And Oleander doesn't have good options for that. She doesn't, like, even the teleport now, even if she, like, expects it and does just jab into teleport, there's a significant amount of time now before she's invincible and teleports. So since the startup of that teleport is now longer and the recovery is increased, her vulnerable time afterwards is also increased, so it's even easier for Bitey to just catch that. Oleander doesn't have an option if Bitey is behind her. She just has to accept that if there's a gap anywhere in the pressure, Bitey might just be, you know, clipping her ankles. And Palm can, of course, incorporate instant blocks into this, so she can potentially, against certain characters, against certain strings, decide where that gap is going to be, and there's nothing you can do about it, because the instant block is going to force a gap for a certain amount of time, and she can throw out a, essentially one-frame startup move that allows her to block immediately afterwards, and then you're just getting clipped. So, on defense, once she's got that, she's super scary. In addition, if we call out Mama Dog here. So Mama Dog gets collision, or at least she used to. I don't know if they're keeping this in the game or if it's already gone, but Mama Dog gets collisions. So when she pushes a button here, you can see she gets this gigantic hitbox, or hurtbox. And for characters, especially like Oleander, who have sweeping normals, right? This normal doesn't just have a box that comes out and then stops, right? Like her jab does, or her 2A does, right? So those buttons just kind of have a hitbox that appears and then disappears. And so if it hits Palm, it's going to hit Palm, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But Oleander has a lot of moves that have sweeping, like, hitboxes. So the hitbox isn't all the way out on the first frame, right? So the C, for example, starts at the bottom, flies all the way up to the top of the screen. Her sweep starts close to her and then flies out later on. All these moves kind of follow the book. So the moves extend and then retract based upon where the book is, and the hitboxes aren't necessarily out instantaneously for their entire range of movement. And what that means basically is that you can accidentally hit Mama Dog, let's say a sweep, and it'll hit the first part of the sweep, and Mama Dog will take the hit. And then the hitbox is gone. So even if it should have hit Palm, I'm not going to bother trying to show this, but even if it should have hit Palm, Mama Dog will eat the hitbox, it doesn't hit her instead, and now, since your hitbox is gone, Palm just gets a free punish on what effectively is a whiffed move, even if it shouldn't have been. There is an argument as to whether or not that should be a thing that exists, but it was definitely a thing that existed, and I believe it's still in the game. And it's worth talking about because it is super strong. Whether it should be in the game or not, it is, and it's good, so we're talking about it. Yeah, so with dogs that eat hitboxes, and dogs that attack while blocking, and a crazy pancake low-profile move that can contest a lot of moves in the game. I think it contests this at certain ranges. You can see that up close, we probably hit, right? But further away, if it's a little bit further off into the combo, or into the string, she might go under that. Or this, again, up close, probably hits. Further away, she might not, right? This could easily miss at certain ranges, right? It's got a hitbox that doesn't quite go all the way to the ground after moving forward a little bit. In fact, it's pretty high up, so I think there's spots where that will whiff. So there's just a bunch of moves where like she can just low profile it. So that's also really good. So that's her defense. Without dogs, she's got one cool little gimmick that's pretty strong, and with dogs, she is at advantage when you are trying to hit her. It's kind of nuts. So depending upon position, of course. And then finally, just she's a very snowbally character, right? So if she can get the dogs out, you're in big trouble, and position them where she wants them to be, you're in huge trouble. And if she can't, then you kind of get to whop her because she's a really bad character without dogs. So that brings us to the game plan. So let's talk about what I think we should do. So let's start with our openings. I think that Jab 5A is a questionable opening in this matchup because she can just call it out with 2B and it's going to whiff and you're going to lose. So if you're going to play that game, Palm doesn't have a lot of good normals that hit from here that she gets real combos off of. Just use 5B. 5B will catch a lot more of the 2B hurt box because it's got that big low, well, I think we saw it already, but you can see here it's actually got quite the low hitbox at the beginning there. Yeah, we can sort of see it. Not great. But it's got that low hitbox immediately as it starts, and right there, yeah. Okay, so you can see it goes all the way to the ground, pretty far out. If she tries to 2B that, she's going to lose a lot. It's either like you're both going to whiff or you're both going to trade at worst, or Oleander's just going to win because the big ol' hitbox below it is going to hit her, and Oleander gets a combo from this range fairly easily, right? So she doesn't have to worry about not being able to convert off of those things. So I actually think 5B instead of dash up A is the answer here. Obviously, of course, you can also jump. I think that like neutral jump is pretty strong. It still threatens if she moves forward at all. It threatens double jump forward even if she doesn't. You can double jump forward, double jump back. Do remember, Palm has good anti-airs. So you do have to be careful. She's also got a good air mobility, so she can kind of play the air game against you with air dash back and float back and into float back forward. She can kind of like whiff punish aerials in a way. So even though they don't have recovery, she can force you to then block her aerial, and that's still not where you want to be, even if she doesn't have a dog out yet. Like we've seen what you can do with JB. We don't want to have anything to do with that. So, yeah. I think that trying to keep up the pressure, even though we are the zoning character, the character that can play reactively, because we've got the fireball and she doesn't, we don't want her to be able to trade a fireball for getting a dog out for free. If she takes 400 damage into no knockdown situation, or even 800 damage into no knockdown situation in order to get a dog out, she's happy to be down 20% of her life to be the best character in the game. So you don't just want to play that game. I think that pressing at the beginning of the matchup against Palm is very important. She doesn't have great backdashes. We can stay up with her. So wave dashing in is pretty good. Once she's not necessarily, once we've seen that she's going to back off, that's pretty good. Jumping in and then playing the I've got a double jump game is pretty good. 5B is pretty good. Backdash into 6B can do something if she's not backing off. If she is backing off, you definitely want to press. You want to jump a lot. You want to just dash forward and to see what she does. You're just trying to keep pressure on her and keep her in ranges where she doesn't want to be because she doesn't have good conversions off of even the normals that contest yours. So I think it's really important to make it so that she has to suffer to get a dog out as much as possible, because once she's got one out, your suffering will begin. There's not much you can do about it. So, despite the fact that Oleander is usually not proactive, especially against a character that doesn't have a good projectile, we really do want to try to play the aggressor here, and we don't necessarily have to play the proactive aggressor, but we do want to try to keep her in ranges where she's not happy. We want to try to bait stuff out. We don't have to throw out a button here. We just have to try to make it so that she's scared to bring out a dog, and that if she does bring out a dog, maybe we get to take 30% of her life for it, right? We want her to be trading getting a dog for some negative thing. Because if she doesn't, she's probably just going to win. And then let's start with the mid-game. So the mid-game, Pom's got some options. So one of the cool ones she's got is that this bark is enormous, staggers, and cancels into her super even on whiff. So you see that even on whiff, she can cancel that. So the bark obviously staggers, beats projectiles for free, has a huge hitbox, cancels into her super even on whiff. It's spooky. It's basically just her turn if she can get into a situation where she can bark. So you do not want to deal with Bork. Bork will destroy you. Bork makes it so that it's Pom's turn, and she gets to bring dogs out and then mix you up with unbelievable, like, is your brain ready for this mix-ups? So that's really good. She's just got some of the fastest exchanges in the game once she's on pressure, and I think that makes her incredibly frightening. So, yeah, the mid-game is definitely going to depend upon a lot of stuff. In fact, I think it's one of the more interesting mid-games in the game because there's a lot of decision-making. I think there's more room to make really bad choices in neutral for both characters here than there is in a lot of situations, right? Like, if you give Pom the option to get a dog out without getting punished, and then, you go in right afterwards and it's already too late, she's got the dog out, now you're in trouble. What happens if you, use moves that move you forward, right? So she's got a bunch of moves that move her forward, and you're doing those in your string, and suddenly you've pushed the dog that was in front of you to now the point where it's behind you. Well, now she's got that option that we talked about earlier, where she can just hit you with a dog for free while she blocks. So there's a lot of micro situations, and there's just a bunch of stuff I think you have to learn in this game, or that matchup, just to even be able to play it at a decently reasonable level. And there isn't very much of that to this degree in this game. And I think this is one of the more easy matchups where either character can just make a decision that loses them the game instantly. Because if Pom doesn't have a dog out against Oleander with Fred, or Oleander with resources and magic even, it's not close. And if Oleander is jammed in this corner against a Pom that's got a dog out or Mama in front of her, or even, right, with the ability to bark into super whenever she wants to, or just to go low even though she's jumping in the air, you are in a place where you are probably just dead. And there isn't much you can do about it. So this game is very swingy, and this matchup in particular I think is super swingy, because both characters can be in a position where they're basically guaranteed to win in the end game, all the way to where they are basically guaranteed to lose in the end game. And all that's going to be based upon all the decisions you make in neutral. And I don't know all of them, right? This would take tens, if not hundreds of hours of practice before you really had all the situations down and knew them, and certainly hundreds of hours before you have them down in your solid-state drive brain memory where they're going to need to be in order to win in this matchup, because those situations are going to go by just so fast. But, yeah, the end game is wildly inconsistent and variable, right? It can be anywhere from Pom's got you in the corner with a bunch of dogs out, and you don't have any meter to deal with it, and even if you did, she's got all these crazy options, all the way to Oleander's got Pom in the corner, Pom has no dogs, or the dogs are way off screen because the Oleander's been able to deal with that, and you just lose. So it's really tough. I think Oleander's got some interesting counterplays to the dogs. So one of the things that she can do to the dogs is if she does get the hit when the dog's out, she can try to get the dog out of the way. She's got decent corner carry, but perhaps more importantly, she's got the ability to do a side switch with 2 magic from pretty much any position. so she can stay in front, of course, but she can do this, like, get a hit, side switch thing from anywhere because of her magical abilities, and of course, from a lot of ranges, if she uses her ground bounce, she can switch sides and then make it so that the vast majority of her movement is actually going in the opposite direction to use that to get away from dogs. So I think that her ability to side swap rather easily in combos compared to most of the cast is a huge boon here that you need to be using, because even if Pom has dogs out, if they're not in a position where they can hit you, that's really good for you. In addition, Oleander's good movement, so her ability to wave dash forward can make it so that she can now get away from Chopper Dog, because Chopper Dog is slower, and her double jumps allow her to get over Bitey and try to get into positions where Bitey doesn't have the ability to just, like, dunk her. You do have to be careful. Bitey can totally trip guard you. But in a lot of situations, if you're just using movement, you're not using it to get an attack off, and if you don't push a button while you're jumping, you retain trip guard, so you can just drop block immediately in case they try to go for something there, and keep them in a position where they have to use charges of their dog just to try to contest your options. By the time you get there, they don't have the dog, or the dog is out of position. Oleander can definitely get a dog out of position and then just suddenly be in your face. And a Pom over here with a dog out that's all the way across the screen is still the worst character in the game until that dog gets back over to where Pom is. So Oleander has got some counterplay options and some good stuff she can do. It's just that if Pom gets the dog into the position she wants it in, you are so screwed. I mean, like, Fireballs doesn't even work, because if she's got a dog over there, if she's got that Bitey that we talked about, or sorry, the Chopper that we talked about earlier, she can, dive bomb Oleander towards her, get a full conversion off of attempting to zone. It's very scary. So use your movement a lot in neutral. Use your ability to teleport a lot in neutral. Getting a little bit of magic is important here. 2 magic to be able to switch sides off of a hit when dogs are out can be a huge boon. It's very important to be able to keep yourself mobile and with options. So having some magic in the back, super good. Having the ability to move around, double jump, wave dash through to get things out of position, super important. And the end game, honestly, I feel like a lot of times I'm not going to talk too much about it, because the end game is decided based upon the mid game. It's so swingy that the character that's got the advantage, that was able to get into the end game situation with advantage, is almost always winning, right? These characters just wallop each other if one of them has got the advantage in endgame. So I think that the endgame really winds up being how well did you play in the mid game. Do you have enough resources left to try to, like, double jump, teleport, get out of the corner for one last gasp? Or do you have, that one last hit of Bitey left in the corner that you have to worry about? And so it can be anywhere from, like, Pom has nothing and just loses because Fred is out and she has no options. She can't do a darn thing about it. All the way to Oleander is just unbelievably outclassed. Dogs are everywhere. The mix-up is real, and you just lose, right? Like, your solid-state drive brain is not prepared to keep up with this stuff. It does not have the entire game downloaded on it, and you are just dead. So that's kind of how it works with this matchup, and I think it's super fun and enjoyable, and I'll be really excited to learn more about it and play it, but this game, or this particular matchup, I think is going to take so much more experience than the other ones to be able to play at a decent level. But that's what we're going to be trying to do, and that's it. We're going to be talking about the new character in the game now, Shanty. It's going to be a double feature today since I didn't do anything yesterday, and I hope to see you there.